you're right, Steve. You can't see everybody out there, but so I'm just gonna say what I need to say and hope nobody, have to look anybody in the face. You know what I mean? Later after all this, but I must say the way that this came about for me. Never have a drink at a fundraiser, and Buddy Molino says you that he wants you to go talk at some dysfunction thing, and probably 2 drinks later, I said yeah, and I probably shouldn't have. Because I have a problem of not saying no enough, So once again, I catch myself doing something that I should be doing, but I probably shouldn't have had that second drink, buddy. You know what I mean? Luckily, I saw most of the people in the audience before I stood up here, and let me give a little props first to the people that preceded me. Candy, you know what you do for this city. I can't put into words because I got here in 1992, and I know what Candy was doing. Daryl, I know a lot about Port Arthur, Texas, and what you had to go through because some of my best friends came from there. What I don't know is that how I never got a chance to go through 4 IDs, so I consider myself blessed. And as I've been told, I wasn't sure that I was black for a long time myself. Neil, you say that you don't know whether or not you should be up here yet. You should be up here before anybody. There's some things that you are doing that I could never, ever, ever have the courage to do. And I need people like you for me to be inspired. Steve Atkinson, you know what you have done for this city? I'm glad you cut all your awards short because I realize that you get everything done from bills passed to awards, etc. And if we didn't have you, we wouldn't have some of these rules and laws, etc. So that's props. And the best thing that ever happened to me is Ted Kincaid, too. Okay, I got you. Hardy, I don't know a lot about leather, not like you do. But it's been fun when I've tried it. I just don't do it as much. So the fact is that for all the years that you have done it, I commend you. And there's such an array of different people that have had their say tonight. And this probably leads me to probably want to come back to hear some more stories. But to get to the fact of why I am, what I am, who I am, and all the other stuff in between, I probably need to give you a little background. And I realize I'm going to do my best for those that are trying to catch scandal, tonight to get you out here as quickly as I can and to leave you with a little something. Y'all made me last. I don't know what that's for, but I'm going to leave that alone. But to give you a little update a little update or a little background for me, I like to tell people that the reason why I'm going to get out of these lights. The reason why I am what I am and do what I do is that I have a distinction of knowing how I got educated, how I got schooled, and what I really, really learned. How I got educated, how I got schooled, but what I really, really learned. Well, I tell this story because the things that make Cordell who Cordell is happened to be from people who don't look like me. People who don't look like me. I grew up in Jacksonville, Texas, a small town, about 15,000 people, a little south of Tyler. And I have a favorite 4-letter word. My favorite, there your minds start thinking. I know y'all already. My favorite 4-letter word is home. There is no doubt in my mind that home is my favorite 4-letter word. We all know it to be a noun. I know that. But I don't think of it as a wall, as a structure. I don't. It is a state of mind for me. I know that Dallas Way is going to be something to do with what I have to say. A state of mind for me, home. Well, the way that I tell you about the people that don't look like me and having something to do with my background, 1965 or so, my parents were doing pretty well. And I say pretty well. How can you do pretty well in a small little Texas town? Well, they were educators, pretty big educators, and they moved to the other side of town. Now, if you don't know anything about East Texas, the other side of town was across the railroad track. You know what I'm talking about. So there was this little girl who had been watching us move in. This little girl had been watching us move in. All the boxes have been unpacked, trucks have been gone, everything had been delivered. So finally, she came to the front door. In 1965, the front door of our house had a screen door. The screen door was nothing but wood and mesh. No fiberglass, nothing but mesh and wood. Only to keep the insects out, that was it. So when she either knocked or rang the doorbell and asked, little girl, somebody who didn't look like me, asked, ma'am, don't you have a little boy about my age and can he come out and play? Well, I had peeked around from my mother's shirt tail and I saw a little blonde girl. And so I knew that she was standing alone. I don't know how brave she was, but she saw me. She didn't care what my name was. She wanted me to come out and play. Jenny Clark was my first girlfriend. Somebody who didn't look like me. We played house. We got married with those beer can tops. You know, the ones you peel off, you know what I mean? You put them on and you get wedding bands and all those things. I combed more dolls' hairs. I played doctor, nurse, husband, wife. Jenny Clark was my first girlfriend. Somebody who didn't look like me. Well, Jenny had 3 brothers. This is the good part. Jenny had 3 brothers. So about the age of 8, some of you have heard me tell part of this little story, but about the age of 8, I was either 8 or 9, but her 3 brothers were 1 year older. There was Jeff, Danny, and Mike. So if I was 8 or 9, they were either 10, 11, Mike 13, and an older sister 16. So between Jenny being my first wife and these older brothers, and the older brothers you got to play with too, you know, you're new in the neighborhood, so everybody had banana bikes. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Banana bikes. Mine was green, black and white stripe, you know, etc. Had the little flyers on the side flying up and down the streets. So one day, Mike, the 13-year-old, says, let's go to Cordell's house and lay out. And so I knew we were coming to my house to play a game. I had never played it before. They ran inside. The older sister now, I guess, had something to do with this laying out thing. They ran inside and they grabbed towels. They grabbed towels and back on their bikes, and we hightailing it around the curve on down to Cordell's house. I didn't have a swimming pool. We weren't doing that well, y'all. But we lived up on a little hill. If you go in the house, the back of the yard sloped over. So anyway, on the back of this where you had this little hill layout, I ran inside not knowing what we were getting ready to do, and I told my mother, I needed a towel. We finna play layout. My mother looked at me and she said, you said what? I said, I need a towel. We're going to play layout. I had no idea how to play it. She said, baby, let me tell you something. As long as you are on the face of this earth, you never, ever, ever have to lay out. Because I have blessed you with a natural tan. So I ran outside and I told them, I said, y'all, I don't want to play that game. Something I learned from somebody who didn't look like me. But one thing I can tell you as well, I got another four-letter word that I've come to like. My mother's name was Dear. I learned how to say dear at an early age. I got home, I got dear, and my next four-letter word was food. When you associate dear, home, food, I had a winning combination. I'm still liking my four-letter words. So after I get to the next stage in my life with school that went on, I knew that it was time for me to make some changes. I knew at this time period when I was getting my education, it was pretty straightforward. But I got asked in the 10th grade by my biology teacher, she said, Cordell, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? I don't know what had recently happened that she asked me that, but maybe I got some acting thing or I think I actually had just gotten back from Dallas doing a runway thing over at Paramount. I had little jobs and it was taking me little places. So I just kind of thought maybe I would see my name in lights one day. Well, you know, I was dreaming. I was 16 and all these things were happening. So she said, and so I said, well, maybe that would be what I would want to do. But I do like health. I do like the things that, you know, have to do with the, you know, maybe doctor. I'm just, you know, talking out loud in the hall. She said, what did you say about doctor? I said, well, maybe a doctor. She says, well, now you're talking some sense. Forget all that other stuff. I said, but, you know, I had some cousins that made it and all this other kind of stuff. She says, well, I'm thinking about you. If you feel like you need to do some entertaining, why don't you become a doctor and entertain your patients? The things I learned from some people who didn't look like me. So after all that, I had a wife as well, Steve. I got married, but I was kind of lucky. The first time I met my wife, she asked me, had I ever slept with a man? I told her, yeah. Have you ever slept with a woman? She said, yeah. I said, okay, come on, let's go. It was done. We had decided we had both slept with someone of the same sex. That was it. Well, that was kind of important because the reason for my divorce was not because I wasn't happy in my relationship. It was because as a resident in medical school, I didn't know where the money was going. When I got to the point that I couldn't trust what was going on in my own house, I knew that a decision had to be made. I didn't pursue women after that because I felt like I wouldn't have the honor of having somebody that knew exactly my history and me trying to make them happy all over again. I had to make that decision. Bisexuality, I know, is a real thing, part of my history. But from there, 1992, by the time period I'm ready to come back to Dallas. I say back to Dallas, or at least back to Texas. When I get to Texas, I knew that Dallas kind of had reminded me of Los Angeles. I saw a whole lot of people who didn't know other people. I saw a lot of cliques. Group 1 didn't know Group 2, didn't hang out with Group 3, who liked Group 4, was afraid to talk to them. So thankfully, my office gave me this opportunity, or at least at meeting or bringing some of these people together. The birth of Christmas in July was my little baby for the sake of I met people through my office that I knew were important. I knew that they could do something about the other situations that were going on in town, in the city as well. You talk about where we were as far as the AIDS problem. My patients were dying on me when I first got here. I chose ophthalmology as a specialty because people don't die when they get their eyes checked. I'm not good at oncology. I'm not good at pathology. You can't talk to the patients. I'm not good at radiology. I don't want to sit and read a screen all day. I needed some interaction with, and I didn't have to deal with death. But my patients with CMV retinitis were dying, running rampant. I had to do something about this from the office, but I needed to do it from the community. So I'm glad that at least for the chance of getting Christmas in July off to a start, that it would help the initial organizations from fundraising. And using that, I was glad as well to get to the point of where I am now. I do believe that when I have done something for so long, people get a little tired of seeing you do certain things. It's time to pass the buck. I never get tired of helping people in this community, asking people whatever they need. I just don't have to be on stage to do it. Stage is a natural thing for me, I think. But I don't have to do it for my volunteer work. Well, I get to the point of where I am here and how you asked me to be here. I am so glad that the people in this room, that 3/4 of you I probably know by name, and the others I at least recognize by face. I am glad as well for where I am with my other things that I have done in this city. I have coined a few terms that people are still using. Candy, you know, when we first got here and I got answered, you know, I think Worth Ross pursued me for the wrong reason initially, and I walked up in Federal Club and I told these people in that room that this room is too male and too pale. It was much too male and much too pale. We needed some color. Well, again, there are my 4-letter words. Something about 4-letter words have gotten me where I am. About 18 years ago, I met another 4-letter word, Jean. I got another favorite 4-letter word. I have learned the 4-letter words that have gotten me through this life I have lived, and those are my love, life, pray, Lord, soul, work, hard, play, hard, Lord, save, soul, my life, I love, my home with Jean, my story. The Dallas way for Cordell Adams. Thank you.